Hello everyone, my name is Raymond and I'm a game developer and car enthusiast. And about 3 months ago, I purchased this 2022 Honda Civic Si as my first car and my first manual. And having owned the car for a bit of time now, I wanted to give a review and my thoughts on it. Now, I mostly use this car for everyday driving and just commuting, but I do think that this car shines the most when you take it to some twisty mountain roads, and so that's exactly what I'll be doing for this review. I've taken the Civic Si out to the mountains because that's where I feel that it's really the most at home. It's not a very powerful car, but there are quite a lot of positives that come out when you go onto twisty roads like this. The Si actually shares quite a few suspension parts with the Civic Type R of this generation as well, and that's what allows it to feel very planted and confident going into corners. On the topic of shared parts with the Civic Type R, the Si also actually borrows the rev match, something that was not a feature in the previous generation Si. However, for me personally, I actually turned the rev match off because I prefer doing heel toe myself. Even though the rev match is probably always going to be better than any human, it's going to pretty much perfectly nail those downshifts every single time, it's just a lot more fun and engaging to do the heel toe yourself. Now, on the topic of the auto rev match, I do kind of wish that you could easily turn the auto rev match on and off from just pressing a button on the center console or something like that. At the moment, the only way to toggle it is to go deep through several menus in the infotainment system, and that can be a bit annoying because I think in everyday driving, it can be nice to have the auto rev match so you don't have to heel toe like crazy just coming up to a red light. But whenever I'm on roads like this, it's a lot more fun to have the rev match off. So I do wish that I could tie the rev match to individual drive modes in this car. So those drive modes, there's really only three: normal, sport, and individual. Individual is the one that I'm most disappointed with because it feels like you should be able to customize a lot more options, but really the only two things you can change are the steering and the throttle response. And between those, I really feel like there's not much need for this mode. You could just keep going with the normal and sport modes alone, and those should be enough for all of your needs. I do quite a lot of commuting just to work in this car, and so being stuck in traffic every day, sometimes it does become a bit annoying to have a manual. You have to constantly feather the clutch when you're in stop and go traffic, and that can be a bit tiring at times, although the clutch on this car is very light, so it really isn't that bad compared to some other cars. That being said, in everyday driving, this car can be very tame actually, which in many ways is a good thing since you're not going to attract too much attention, so probably not going to get pulled over by cops or anything. But whenever you take this car out onto roads like this, that's when it can become very fun. The main highlights of this car are really the way the steering feels and the transmission feel. Honda has really perfected the manual transmission. You really can't get a better feeling manual transmission for the price. I've tested other cars when I was looking on what to buy. I test drove a Mustang GT, Camaro, and those cars have nice feel to them, but it's not as nice as the Civic. In terms of steering feel, this car really feels a lot smaller than it actually is. Now, the Civic is supposed to be a compact car, but at this point, with cars getting bigger with each generation, the Civic of this era is actually larger than the original Honda Accord. However, it doesn't feel large. It feels almost weightless in corners, and it's very tossable, which I really like. All in all, I think the Civic Si is still a very great driver's car, and a lot of that comes down to things that you can't quite quantify. Sure, the 200 horsepower figure might not be something that's super exciting anymore, but a lot of the things about the way the car feels are still very well done compared to other cars. It's difficult to quantify how good a shifter feels or how good steering response is, but those are things that really make this car such a good driver's car, in my opinion. So I think all of those comments and reviews that I've seen of this car that are talking about how it's not enough power, it's not exciting because of that, they're kind of missing the point, because this car isn't supposed to be super powerful. It's a car that you can have a lot of fun with on a twisty mountain road, but at the end of the day, it's still going to always be reliable enough and convenient enough that you can use it to go to work and get your groceries as well. Which is why for me, I think this is a really good first car. It's something that I can use reliably to get to work, but I can also have some fun with.